Yellowstone National Park is one of the most iconic parks in the world, and for good reason. Welcome to WatchZilla. Today, we are going to explore the most iconic parks in the world, Yellowstone, United States. Yellowstone is known for its red-tinged canyon walls and awe-inspiring natural wonders like Old Faithful and Mammoth Hot Springs, but you can't miss exploring some of the park's hiking trails and basins for striking views of the park's waterfalls, forests and alpine lakes. This geothermal wonder offers a wide range of activities for anyone and everyone. The Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone's trails are especially popular with adventurous travelers. Whether you're an adrenaline junkie or simply want to drive through the park and see the viewpoints, Yellowstone will be an adventure you won't soon forget. Other park activities encompass everything from horseback riding in the backcountry to fishing at the lake, so plan to hit the sites that cater to your interests. Filled with unbelievable geothermal attractions and a wide array of wildlife including wolves and grizzly bears. Venture to Yellowstone Lake for a boating expedition or head north to Hayden Valley or northeast to Lamar Valley for excellent wildlife watching opportunities. It's no wonder that people flock to this park from all corners of the planet. Number 10. West Thumb Geyser Basin. One of the smallest geothermal areas of Yellowstone, West Thumb Geyser Basin, is not to be missed. Located on the western side of the Yellowstone Lake, West Thumb Geyser Basin offers a good view of the lake and has some interesting thermal features, including some that are in the lake itself. The basin's geysers pour 3,100 gallons of hot water into the lake every day. Although this is one of the smallest geyser basins in Yellowstone, it does contain a well-known geothermal feature, the fishing cone geyser. Before 1911, anglers who were fishing in Yellowstone Lake near this geyser would sometimes plunk their catch still on the hook into the cone's boiling water, effectively cooking it alive. That practice was outlawed in 1911. The West Thumb Geyser Basin Trail is an easy wheelchair-accessible short walk that takes about half an hour. It follows the lake shore and passes several thermal features including Abyss Pool, Yellowstone's deepest hydrothermal pool. Abyss Pool is 53 feet deep and is well worth the visit to this area. If you feel like walking just a bit more, there are two hiking trails nearby, Duck Lake and Lake Overlook. West Thumb Bay, where this basin is located, gets its name because Yellowstone Lake was described by an early expedition party as looking like a hand. And this western bay was said to look like the thumb of that hand. Number 9. Grand Prismatic Spring. If there is one place that you really have to see in Yellowstone, it is the colorful Grand Prismatic Spring, the star of the Midway Geyser Basin. It is not only the largest hot spring in the United States, but also one of the most unique natural wonders on the planet. It is also the best recognized and most photographed landmark of Yellowstone. No matter how many times you saw the Grand Prismatic on pictures, it's only when you stand there that you realize how large it actually is. It's bigger than a football field and deeper than a 10-story building. But its rainbow waters are what really make it fascinating. Chances are big that your trip to Yellowstone has been inspired by all those incredibly beautiful images of the Grand Prismatic Spring, photographed directly from above, that you see in so many travel guides and TV documentaries. If you come here with such high expectations, then seeing this famous landmark in real life might disappoint you a bit. No matter how much you try, you can never get the same view of the Grand Prismatic as in those famous photographs. However, Grand Prismatic Spring is still absolutely incredible, and it is also just as colorful in reality as it is in the pictures. If you come here on a sunny day, the rainbow of colors will take your breath away. Just in case you wonder, the Grand Prismatic Hot Spring gets its multicolor layers from different species of heat-loving bacteria that live around it. The color of the bacteria is determined by the temperature of the water. The center is too hot to support life, which is then reflected when light hits the organisms. The deep center is blue, then you have green and yellow tints, followed by lots of orange on the cooler outskirts. Needless to say, Grand Prismatic Spring is one of the most popular attractions of Yellowstone. Probably the best way to avoid the crowds is to come very early in the morning or late in the evening. On cooler days, but also early in the mornings and in the evening, steam can cover the spring, making it more difficult to see how colorful it really is. Colors will also be duller if you visit on a cloudy day. Still, no matter the weather or the conditions, seeing the Grand Prismatic is a must, one of the absolute best things to do in Yellowstone. Number 8. Upper Geyser Basin. The Upper Geyser Basin is, arguably, the most popular attraction in Yellowstone. Old Faithful is located within an area of Yellowstone known as the Upper Geyser Basin. This geyser is very popular with visitors because the park can predict fairly accurately when it will erupt, and the intervals between eruptions are fairly short, between 60 to 110 minutes. This basin has the highest concentration of geysers in the entire world. The park has built a nice path through the upper geyser basin, which makes it easy to view the many fascinating geothermal features in the area. The boardwalk path through this basin will take approximately 2 hours to walk and will lead you past stunning geysers and rainbow-colored pools. Make sure you take some time to explore the upper geyser basin beyond the Old Faithful. Besides Old Faithful, there are more than 150 geysers in this basin, as well as hot springs and fumaroles. While there are always lots of people at the Old Faithful, the rest of this area is so much quieter. Don't miss the Beehive Geyser, the Giantess Geyser, and the majestic Morning Glory and Sapphire pools. In addition, be sure to visit the Old Faithful Inn, which is the single most impressive human structure in Yellowstone. The Biscuit Basin is also part of the Upper Geyser Basin area, however the formations for which the area was named have long since disappeared due to the 1959 earthquake. Understandably, the Upper Geyser Basin is definitely one of the best places to see in Yellowstone. Number 7, Old Faithful. One of Yellowstone's most remarkable landmarks, the Old Faithful Geyser, is another absolute must in the park. No visit to Yellowstone National Park is completed without experiencing at least one eruption of Old Faithful. Most famous and the most predictable out of nearly 500 Yellowstone geysers, Old Faithful was the first one to receive a name. It was named during the 1870 Washburn-Langford Doan expedition, which also led to the establishment of the Yellowstone National Park in 1872. The Old Faithful Geyser is still as faithful today as it was 150 years ago. Old Faithful is not the park's largest geyser, however, it does erupt more frequently than other large geysers in the park. It erupts in more or less regular intervals of around 90 minutes and is, therefore, one of the geysers that are easy to see in action. The good news is that the eruption usually takes long enough to admire the geyser and take plenty of photos. The eruptions usually last from 1.5 minutes to 5 minutes and reach heights of between 90 and 184 feet. This wait is worth it, however, as soon as you see the geyser shoot huge columns of water up into the air. Despite its fairly predictable schedule, Old Faithful's eruptions occasionally occur sooner than expected, so consider arriving early. For the approximate eruption times, inquire at the visitor center. There are several ways to see Old Faithful's power. You can join the hordes of tourists who gather around the perimeter or find a less hectic spot in the nearby Old Faithful Inn's dining room. Together with the Grand Prismatic Spring, the Old Faithful is one of the most popular attractions of Yellowstone. More adventurous travelers can enjoy the mile-long hike out to Observation Point for a bird's-eye view of the Upper Geyser Basin. No matter what time you come, it will always be busy. Recent visitors enjoyed seeing Old Faithful, although some felt it wasn't as impressive as other Yellowstone geysers. Many, however, said this geyser is worth checking out. On the other hand, the Upper Geyser Basin area is very big, so there is plenty of parking available and the crowds spread out. Take an hour or two to walk around the boardwalks and visit some of the many other geysers in the Upper Geyser Basin, such as Castle, Grotto, Riverside and Daisy. Be sure to take the 1.4-mile walk to Morning Glory Pool, one of the most colorful thermal features in all of Yellowstone. While you're here, stop by the historic Old Faithful Inn. Built in 1903 to 1904, this legendary hotel is a National Historic Landmark and is thought to be the largest log structure in the world. Even if you only pop in to gawk at the magnificent lobby and its towering stone fireplace, it's worth visiting this famous Yellowstone National Park hotel. The thermal area known as Black Sand Basin lies about a mile from the Old Faithful Geyser, and the two attractions can be combined in one easy trip. It has a reputation for being one of the most colorful spots in Yellowstone. Number 6, Norris Geyser Basin. Ideally, you come here before you have seen the Upper and the Midway Geyser Basins. Norris Geyser Basin isn't as impressive as the other two, so if you see it first, you'll appreciate it more. But if you first visit the other places, you might be somewhat disappointed. The Norris Geyser Basin is the oldest and hottest basin in all of Yellowstone. The basin encompasses two main areas that are open to visitors and accessible via loop trails. Porcelain Basin is a bleak and treeless lunar-like setting, steeped in the pungent aroma of the bubbling geysers that surround the 3/4-mile trail. Please note that this area has no shade and can get really warm in summer. Back Basin couldn't be more different from the adjacent Porcelain Basin. Back Basin is a wooded area with geothermal features scattered along a 1.5-mile boardwalk trail. One of the most interesting attractions in this basin is the Steamboat Geyser, the tallest geyser in the entire world. Water can be seen shooting out of this geyser up to 400 feet in the air. While it used to have regular eruptions, nowadays the eruptions are becoming rarer. Echinus Geyser, also located in this basin, is a rare acidic geyser with a pH of 3.5. Norris Geyser Basin is constantly changing. For example, the Echinus Geyser was once a very regular performer, erupting approximately every 35 to 75 minutes. But in 1998, that changed. And now it only spouts rarely. New geysers are born, old ones die. Even the major geysers change from year to year. This makes Norris an interesting place to study, but a difficult place to predict. This is part of the fun of Norris. Although the basin's geysers rarely erupt, recent travelers highly recommend checking out this geothermal area, saying it's an otherworldly place and the best geyser basin in Yellowstone. A few, however, caution that it can get crowded and run out of parking spaces at the main lot, so consider arriving early or late in the day. In addition, there are several miles of boardwalks from which you can explore dozens of multicolored thermal features. Sunrise and sunset are especially beautiful times to visit. Stop by the Norris Museum to learn more about these fascinating hydrothermal features. Number 5. Yellowstone Lake. Yellowstone Lake is the largest high-elevation lake in North America. It is a natural lake situated at 7,733 feet above sea level. It is roughly 20 miles long and 14 miles wide, with 141 miles of shoreline. First visited by Lewis and Clark's scout, John Coulter, in early 1800s, Yellowstone Lake has since become a popular destination among anglers and boaters. It is also a very unusual lake. Underneath its surface lie geysers, hot springs and canyons that are up to 390 feet deep. There is also a spot in Yellowstone Lake's Mary Bay where water temperatures of 252 degrees Fahrenheit have been recorded. It is frozen nearly half the year. It freezes over completely every winter, and even in summer the water temperature is too low to swim in it. During winter, many animals trek to the shallower areas of the lake's southern shores, where the water doesn't freeze due to the geothermal activity that takes place beneath the surface. But most of the lake freezes over by early December and can stay that way until early June. From the surface, though, this body of water looks for the most part just like any other lake in the United States. For panoramic views, travelers suggest driving around this lake. When the weather is warmer, many say a picnic lunch by the water's edge can't be beat. And both fishing, permit required, and boating are allowed on Yellowstone Lake, which contains several different species of fish, including cutthroat trout and longnose suckers. Birds are abundant here, especially many species of waterfowl. Yellowstone Lake is one of the best places you have to see in Yellowstone, but if you're short on time, you can just make a quick stop here. On the northwest shore of Yellowstone Lake are the little townships of Bridge Bay, Lake Village, and Fishing Bridge, with motels, campgrounds, and various leisure facilities. Visitors who want to stay near this lake should book their accommodations at either the Lake Yellowstone Hotel, which was originally built in 1891, or the Lake Lodge Cabins. Tours of the hotel are also offered via Xanterra Parks and Resorts and Buffalo Bus Touring Company. The West Thumb, an offshoot on the west side of Yellowstone Lake, is a water-filled caldera with hot springs, fumaroles, mud pots, and geysers, all within a relatively small scenic area. Number 4. Mammoth Hot Springs. Mammoth Hot Springs are the main attraction of the Mammoth District. Sitting just southwest of the north entrance in the aptly named Mammoth Hot Springs area, Mammoth Hot Springs is one of the park's more unique attractions. These features are quite different from thermal areas elsewhere in the park. Known for its terraces, formed over centuries of hot water bubbling up from the ground, cooling and depositing calcium carbonate, Mammoth Hot Springs travertine formations are often described as natural sculpture. At Mammoth Hot Springs, steaming hot water flows over travertine terraces, creating a beautiful but otherworldly scene. Some people have even described Mammoth Hot Springs as a cave turned inside out. Mammoth Hot Springs is accessible by two terrace boardwalks, upper and lower. Both are easily accessible by a nearby parking lot. Each section contains numerous hot springs and a variety of interesting-looking formations. The Minerva Terrace is the most well-organized attraction in this area, made popular by its colorful travertine terraces that are constantly changing. Travertine formations grow much more rapidly than sinter formations due to the softer nature of limestone. This region of the park is also a good place to look for elk. As you explore, keep an eye out for elk grazing near the edge of the springs before terrace hopping along numerous boardwalks down toward the bottom. They can often be seen hanging around the Mammoth Hot Springs Visitor Center. Though they appear tame, it is best that visitors always give them a wide berth, especially during the fall rutting season when the males can be particularly dangerous. Female elk with babies have also been known to charge visitors if they believe that they are getting too close to their young ones. Also, avoid direct contact with the water, which can easily cause burns. Although the Minerva Terrace is the most photographed spot here, the Mammoth Hot Springs area includes over 50 hot springs. Due to its year-round access and comparatively mild winters, Mammoth has always been the headquarters for the park. Mammoth has a visitor center. In addition, a number of hiking trails are located in the Mammoth area. According to recent visitors, Mammoth Hot Springs is an amazing spectacle that can't be missed. For some of the attraction's best views, travelers suggest walking up to the upper terraces. Number 3. Hayden Valley. Probably the most popular place to see wildlife is Yellowstone. Hayden Valley attracts lots of tourists. It can get really busy here. Large herds of buffalo can often be seen grazing on this valley's meadows, and it's not uncommon to spot elk, pronghorn antelopes and bears as well. In the spring and early summer, grizzly bears often roam here looking for newborn bison and elk. And if bison decide to hang around on the only road that leads through the valley, chances are big that you'll get stuck in the bison jam for a very long time. It seems that bison really love showing tourists who is in charge of the place. So, every time you need to pass Hayden Valley, you should be prepared for bison jams that can easily delay you by an hour. The good news is that, despite all the traffic, bison usually still outnumber the number of people, and that most of them stay next to the roads and not on them. Coyotes are also easy to spot in the rolling green meadows. Birders will also have plenty to see. Bald eagles, northern harriers, sandhill cranes, shorebirds, ducks, geese, and pelicans are some of the species that inhabit the area around the mud flats and river. While you can get a good view of the valley from the Grand Loop Road, you need to get out your car for the best perspective. Fortunately, there are numerous turnouts in Hayden Valley where visitors can park to get a better view of the picturesque valley and its wildlife. The Yellowstone River is positioned on the east side of the roadway. Several turnouts are scenic overlooks that allow panoramic views of the valley floor below. Hayden Valley also boasts 2 trails where hikers can get an up-close and personal view of the beautiful area. The Hayden Valley Trail runs from Yellowstone Lake to the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone and shadows the Yellowstone River. The Merry Mountain Trail follows an old wagon trail and is said to be the park's most popular trail. Caution must be taken when hiking in the valley, as bears often roam in this area. While you're exploring, be sure to check out some of its geothermic features, such as Mud Geyser and Sulphur Spring. Past visitors praised the valley's scenery, but many were most excited about seeing its various animals. For a better view of harder-to-spot critters like wolves, several suggest bringing a pair of binoculars. Just remember to keep a safe distance from the animals. The National Park Service advises staying at least 100 yards away from wolves and bears and roughly 25 yards away from other kinds of animals. Number 2. Lamar Valley. Located between Yellowstone's northeast entrance and Mammoth Hot Springs in the Tower Roosevelt area, Lamar Valley is a wildlife haven. Lamar Valley is another popular spot in Yellowstone for wildlife viewing and is one of the only areas of the park where visitors have a higher chance of seeing wolves in the wild. In fact, this valley is often referred to as America's Serengeti because it has an abundance of animals. Herds of bison can also be seen here, as well as coyotes, pronghorns, elk, and bears. At least one wolf pack, sometimes 2, typically reside in this valley. In fact, the Lamar Valley was where one of the park's most famous packs, the Druids, once resided. Yet it is overlooked by most tourists due to its remote location. However, if you make an effort to drive there, you will be rewarded with the most spectacular landscapes and indeed lots of wildlife. The remnants of a former hot spring are also situated in the eastern part of the valley. For the best chance of viewing wildlife, drive through the Lamar Valley in the early morning or late evening. This valley is easily accessible by car and has many different turnouts for those who'd like to stop for photos. Previous visitors said passing through Lamar Valley is a must. You'll have ample opportunities to see bison. Some may even cross Beartooth Highway at times, so stay alert when driving. If you're looking for a scenic spot to stop for a bit to eat, some travelers suggest packing a picnic lunch to enjoy during your drive. Just remember to never feed or get close to the valley's animals. The National Park Service recommends staying at least 100 yards away from wolves and bears and 25 or more yards away from other creatures like bison and elk. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Number 1. Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. Yellowstone National Park's Grand Canyon may not be as big as the Grand Canyon in Arizona, but it is nonetheless breathtaking. Rated as number 1 place to see in Yellowstone on TripAdvisor, Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone River is definitely a must-see in America's oldest national park. Nevertheless, the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone River is one of the main landmarks of Yellowstone, one that you really shouldn't miss. So even if you have just one day in Yellowstone, you should make an effort to see the canyon. This rugged, colorful canyon was carved out by the powerful Yellowstone River over thousands of years. Yellowstone Canyon is over 24 miles long, up to 4,000 feet wide, and some parts are 1,200 feet deep. Notice how the walls of the gorge shimmer in reddish and yellow tones due to chemical reactions in the rock's rhyolite. Just as remarkable as the canyon's terracotta-hued cliff walls is its river, which is the longest undammed river in the country, meandering for more than 600 miles through Wyoming, Montana, and North Dakota. The Grand Canyon of Yellowstone's most famous attractions are its two very stunning and large waterfalls, the Upper Falls and the Lower Falls. The Lower Falls are twice as tall as Niagara Falls, plunging approximately 300 feet, while the Upper Falls tumble 109 feet. Several hot springs and steam vents can also be seen in the area. There are many lookouts and walking trails along both rims of the canyon. Depending on what you want to see and how much time you have, you can spend just 1 hour or the whole day here. As you can imagine, most tourists only visit the main viewpoints. So, once again, it's really easy to escape the crowds if you are willing to walk. Lookout Point, Red Rock Point, Artist Point, brink of the Lower Falls Trail, and various points on the South Rim Trail offer breathtaking views. The main place that everyone comes to see at the Yellowstone Canyon is the Artist Point. Its lookout along the South Rim offering an exceptional view over the canyon and its most famous feature, the Lower Falls. Also, be certain to take the 3 to 8 mile hike down to the edge of the Lower Falls. The experience at the lip of the falls is breathtaking. Other main points of interest easily reachable by car include Inspiration Point, the brink of the Upper Falls, and also the Lower Falls. For those who would like to stay in this area, there are accommodations available in Canyon Village, including hotel rooms and RV and tent sites. Amazing, beautiful and fascinating are just a few adjectives recent visitors used to describe this natural wonder. Most praised its hiking trails, but a few said to check the National Park Service's Canyon Area Construction Projects page before you arrive, since several paths are either partly or completely closed for renovations. Another tip, get to the canyon early or late in the day to avoid rubbing elbows with hordes of tourists. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchZilla and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.